Happy full moon in Libra. Isn't that beautiful? This is by my friend Phoenix Feather Art on Instagram. Go check her out. She's amazing. This is my lovely moon. That Wild Wool Shepherdess on Instagram, also amazing. Sent me when I ordered some amazing gloves from her and her flock. Not a knitting flock, but the fleece was from the flock. Anyway, I love my moon, and it's full moon in Libra, and it's beautiful. Venus ruled full moon in Libra, and there's some beautiful moon art for you. So I'm here today to talk about the upcoming new moon solar eclipse, which is going to be happening on the 20th of April at 5:16 a.m. UK time. So adjust for wherever you are on the planet the time that it will be happening. Did I say the 20th of April? I'm a bit like full moon today. My head's full of energy. Probably talking too quickly though. So yeah, new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Aries at 29 degrees, which is known as the anaretic degree. So this is the very final degree of any sign, will be known as the anaretic degree, which is a kind of like, it's a crucial degree, it's a finalizing degree, and sometimes it can feel a bit volatile because it's that energy of change, getting ready to change into the next sign. Also a volatile energy is brought about because this is an eclipse, and eclipses do generally bring up quite volatile energy because it is the sun and the moon coming together in this great powerhouse of, at a new moon eclipse, of new starts. So think of it as a hyped up new moon or a mega new moon in which you can set some new intentions for the next 6 months ahead. Eclipses always make us think of fated meetings with other people, so pay attention to people that come into your life and potentially leave your life. This could be people moving away, people passing on, to another existence away from the earth. It can also be people, chance meetings in the street, bumping into somebody and ending up having a conversation, which then leads your kind of your spirit path, or leads your spirit on to a new thing. And often the wonderful thing about astrology, I find, is that when we use it in retrospect, so I love looking forward and planning for the future and setting new intentions for the future, but when you look back as well, that's when you see these real seeds of like how it's playing out for you. And as you start to track these things over the weeks, months, years, once you start looking at your own astrology and kind of empowering yourself with that knowledge, then in retrospect you can start to see your own personal patterns, because we all have our own personal birth chart which interacts with the transiting planets, so the planets in the sky right now, in various ways. So when you watch YouTube videos like this one, for example, I'll be saying, this new moon solar eclipse is at 29 degrees of Aries. Look to see where that falls in your birth chart. If it isn't creating any aspects, so that just means if it isn't seeing some of your personal planets or angles by aspect, then you may notice this one less and find the full moon, as I'm recording this, for example, in Libra, you may find that one more powerful in the way that it's interacting with your birth chart, and so therefore more noticeable. But anyway, so the important thing to say about an Aries new moon eclipse is that the sun is exalted in the sign of Aries, and so this means that the sun is an honoured guest in the sign of Aries. It loves to be in the sign of Aries. It's like it doesn't really have to work too hard. Well, it doesn't really have to work hard at all to shine and show up in the world. Just unapologetically me is a very Aries statement. It's all about the inner child and fun and really creative as well. You get a lot of Aries in very creative people's charts. Textiles artists, painters, actors. Who was I thinking about recently? Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man. Yeah, he's an Aries with a Taurus moon because he's got the same sun and moon as my youngest son. So I was just looking at people that had similar birth chart placements. So an Aries sun is just very much like out there and enjoying life and jumps into everything head first, you know, like the ram that is the animal symbol for Aries. You know, they're very much like head first. You see rams, don't you, like butting heads and just trying to get things done, and that's kind of like how they move. And you can often see with like an Aries sun or an Aries rising, when they're walking, they're often leading with their heads. It's just something interesting I've noticed since having an Aries sun. Sun as in offspring. He walks very much with his head forward, and if he's running, he's even more like head forward and just going for it, not thinking about the outcome, just thinking about the here and now and the getting out there. So Aries is a really inspiring energy. And so this is a really fantastic new moon to be really feeling inspired, setting new intentions, making new plans about what you want to do for yourself, self-expression. You know, we're thinking this is a cardinal fire sign, which means cardinal is initiating and fire is very active. So it's a very out there energy instead of an inward energy. Aries loves to do and to explore and have fun and just be physically moving around because it's a Mars ruled sign. So we think of the warrior, we think of bravery, courage, and leadership as well. And it's also a masculine sign, which basically in ancient astrology doesn't really have to do with men and women. It's more to do with like masculine being a kind of outward energy and feminine being an inward energy. So that kind of powerful inner emotional world being feminine, and the outer world being action and movement and you know, very much living here on the earth. So that's what I mean by masculine and feminine. It doesn't really have anything to do with gender. And so the aspects that this new moon solar eclipse will be making are, there will be a close co-presence or conjunction with Jupiter in Aries, so with the sun and the moon at 29 degrees of Aries each, because the sun and the moon come together during a new moon and during an eclipse. It's just more emphasized, their significance. And so we've got that power of the exalted sun in the heart of our emotional intention setting, and our you know, the moon connecting to our bodies and our emotions and our daily routines and our sense of comfort. And then we've got Jupiter at 23 degrees, so fairly close co-presence or conjunction. And Jupiter expands anything that it touches. And so this is a real expansion of that warrior energy. It's a real expansion of creativity and joy and fun and just really exciting. Think of springtime, Aries being the sign that we get during springtime in the northern hemisphere at least. It's where you know, all the sap is rising. We're starting to see seedlings pop up out of the ground. There's lots of energy, there's lots of initiation, there's lots of bursting forth, that real huge amount of energy that is needed just for the birth of things to take place. And Aries being the first sign of the zodiac, it's often known as the baby of the zodiac, and birth and spring lambs and all these kinds of things are very much a theme around Aries season. So when Jupiter comes along and you know, waves his spell over the conjunction, then all of these themes just become emphasized. This does mean that the Mars energy becomes emphasized as well, so that warrior energy and that courage, also potentially angry words or disconnects between communications can come about. If you're an Aries rising or have strong Aries in your birth chart, then you may find that Mars brings a kind of redness to yourself, to your body. And so Mars can often show up as like a rash, or just an increased sense of like flushing because you're so active or something like that. So that's just something that can take place for Aries rising when Aries is emphasized in the sky. And then thinking to the fact that transiting Mars is in Cancer now, so we have this connection between Mars in Cancer, which isn't the happiest place for Mars to be, because Mars likes to be in Capricorn. It's exalted in Capricorn. It also likes to be in Aquarius, and no, it doesn't, in Scorpio and Aries. Don't know what that knocking is. So when it's in the sign of Cancer, which is opposite to Capricorn, Mars's exaltation is in Capricorn, and so the opposite to that is Cancer. It's not quite so happy. It's finding it difficult to function because Mars is a very outward energy and Cancer is very inward energy. And so when Mars comes along and is kind of hosting the moon in the way that it is during a Mars in Cancer transit, it's adding this kind of angriness to an already quite volatile zodiac sign, which is ruled by the water. It's also a cardinal sign, so it does have that in common with Aries. They're both cardinal, so initiating. But Cancer is ruled by the moon and emotions, and it fluctuates all the time and it's constantly changing. And so when Mars is in charge of the moon, as it is now, then emotions can be very up and down like a roller coaster throughout the whole of the transit, which is around about 2 months long. So there's that to pay attention to as well. Any kind of new moon can see us feeling tired, wanting to go inward, but then with the sign of Aries there as well, it's very outward, so there can be this kind of like push me pull you when it comes to energy levels, and like maybe feeling exhausted but pushing yourself anyway, especially with Jupiter involved. So maybe just pay attention to energy levels. I think generally just try and enjoy the seeding moment, that real kind of like, what is it that I'm starting now? What is it that I'm just beginning to work on in this moment that I want to bring to fruition in 6 months' time? So just thinking about the significations of Jupiter, it's expansive, it's enthusiastic, it's idealistic, and it's confident. And then thinking about the shadow sides of Jupiter, we've got increased ego, a kind of almost too harsh a sense of wanting to begin things. So like just wanting to think about what you're doing and just getting on with it instead of thinking about anything else around you and how it may impact other people or even impact yourself in the long term. It's not really, Aries doesn't like to think about the long term. It likes to think about the here and now. It can be selfish and all about me, which I think for some people they need to increase that in their lives, and for other people they might need to dial it back a little bit. So that's a very Aries trait anyway. And so just thinking really about how can you set a new intention. Often people like to gather their crystals or any kind of spiritual paraphernalia that you like to have around manifestation. When it comes to manifesting with the moons, this is a really nice one to begin the year with because it's a new moon in Aries. It is the second new moon in Aries that we're having this year, which is, I just find that fascinating. So we already had a new moon in Aries at the last new, so back in March, and now we are having the second new moon in Aries because it's the very, like I said, the anaretic degree, so 29th degree of Aries. We're having this one on the 20th of April. And so that's exciting in itself. Maybe think back to the initial new moon in Aries and what you were cultivating at that time, any seeds that you might have been sowing then, because this eclipse can kind of bring about any kind of fated interactions that might be infusing that new moon intention that you began back then. And Jupiter's bringing about the opportunities and the expansion and the kind of wisdom and the teachers and the ability to kind of to dream big and to be putting yourself out there and really kind of going for it. This is a real, I feel like this is one of the most exciting lunations of the year, because it is just so full of potent new beginning energy. So if you've been looking for a new start, if you're wanting to make changes in your work life, for example, in your relationships to your children, new routines with your body, anything like that, this is a really great time to start. And just sowing the seeds, making the plans, and maybe just jumping in and seeing where things take you. This eclipse can kind of give you that bravery just to think, oh, sod it, I'm just going to go for it, and I'm just going to take that first step and just see what it can expand into. And so take a look at your birth chart and look to see where the sign of Aries is, look to see which house it is falling in, and so using the whole sign house system, look to see if Aries is in your first house at your ascendant, or is it in your 7th house at your descendant, and therefore connecting to partnerships and committed, like marriage, committed relationships, one-to-one work. Your ascendant is your body, yourself, your psychology. 4th house down here would be home, ancestors, family ties. Up here would be 10th house, which would be connecting to career and your public status, and things that you are known for. And then I won't do the other houses, but sorry, my hair's getting stuck everywhere. Yeah, maybe I'll do some horoscopes over on my Instagram for you to take a look at for all of the houses. So that was just 4 of the houses. But I just really wanted to talk about the symbolism today and the way that this new moon solar eclipse might be showing up for you. So just a little bit to wrap up this video today. I am available for mini readings in the month of May. I'm not available on the 20th of May because very excited to announce I have got my first live event going on at the Forum Norwich, which is being run by Orion Events. You can find them on Instagram and Facebook, and you can find the Forum on Instagram and Facebook. And so it is a free event, which is really exciting. You can come along for free, but it is ticketed. So I will drop the link for the Eventbrite tickets below this video. And grab your tickets. I would love to see you there. I'm going to be offering mini readings, so shorter readings for a smaller price than I would usually be offering my one-to-one readings on consultations on my website, because they will be sort of 15-20 minute readings, but it can just give you a little insight into your birth chart, and we can discuss maybe a particular topic or theme in your life at this particular time. So this is really exciting. I can't wait to do it. I really love the idea of actually being in person with you all and getting to actually, share space with you. I love doing it online, and there's something really exciting about doing it in person as well, where you're kind of sharing that energy space. So please come along and say hello on the 20th of May. That would be awesome. And I think that's everything for today. So I'll wrap up for now, but I'll see you again on the next video.